I remember the first time that I realized everything was changing. I was in high school, weeks away from graduating. The teacher gave us one last assignment. She said, I want you guys to go to one side of the room and you girls go to the other side of the room. Get this whiteboard and write on this whiteboard what you expect from man, and man, write down what you expect from woman in relationship or in marriage. So we go ahead and write our stuff down. You know, I was in the main group, obviously, and we wrote down basic stuff. Don't cheat, don't lie, be there for us. That's it. Like, I think that's all we wrote. Really, all we wrote was basic emotional shit, right? Well, we put our board up, and she's like, oh, wow, that's a very short list. Are you guys sure? And we're like, yeah, we're sure. Yeah, we're man. Well, then she's like, okay, girls, come up. Let's see your board. And they're giggling and laughing. They're like, no, this is a really good one. Their board had over, like, bro, the entire board was full, pack, cramp, full. It's like, he has to be able to provide. He has to bring security. He has to be a good man. He has to be a good husband. He has to be a good dad. He has to be able to make more than a certain amount a year. He has to be able to cook. He has to be able to clean. He has to be able to help with the kids. He has to be able to be good with dogs and cats. He has to be able to fix a house. He has to be able to fix a car. He has to be able to provide if he can't fix. He has to be able, bro, it was a long list of, he has to be able to hit the gym. He has to be in shape. He has to, dude, it was a long fucking list. And the teacher looked at us and she was like, are you guys sure? Like, this is all you expect from women? And we were like, well, yeah, we're men. That's what society says, is that a good man just hopes for the best with women. Like, we hope that she's a good woman, and that's all. And she literally, and I mean this, I'm being dead serious. She was like, you know what? This is really worrisome for men. And we asked her why. And she started telling us, well, in my long history of teaching, this is the very first time that men don't ask a woman to know how to clean, cook, or anything. Y'all are just asking them for the most basic of things. They're asking of you to be anything and everything. And that's okay with you guys? And we were like, well, yeah, we're men. We were all like, yeah, we're men. Like, we're men. And she was like, well, no, this is not right. You're not understanding what I'm saying. You guys have a very low bar for women, but these women have a very high bar for you guys. It's not possible. It's not going to work out. And the girl started going about like, well, it has to because they're men. They need to put up with it. And the teacher told us, I remember the teacher told us, like, this is very worrisome for men. Like, if this becomes a thing, this is the very first time that I see this type of stuff. And I remember from that day on, a total collapse of relationships. Like, I know there's always been divorce, obviously. There's always been, things like that happening. But, like, ever since that day, ever since 2016, that day, I've noticed it. I've noticed that as men, if you even speak about this, even me making this video, puts me in a bad spot. Because there's going to be one or two women that are going to comment on this and be like, it sounds like you're a weak man. Oh, I'm not supposed, you cook, you clean. I'll be at home. You know what I'm saying? But ever since that day, I've been thinking about it. Like, you know what, man? She was right. We ask for nothing but the most basic shit. But they ask for anything and everything. And if you're not able to provide one of those things, you're lacking. But if they're able to fucking do the basic shit that we ask for, they're overdoing.
Shalom.
Y'all be safe. I remember the first time that I realized everything.
Glory to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem Arukakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone that rule well. And peace and salutations to you hopeful elect Kim, pushing this truth to the four corners of the earth, waking up the rest of the elect, so Yahweh Shai can return and redeem us upon out of this wicked world. This wicked world, man, that, and this is the product, this is what you get when the wicked are in rulership of the world, man. All right, because the so-called white man, Esau, Edom, has allowed and passed laws and given women rights, all right, freedoms, liberties, okay, to rule over their husband, okay, all right, 100 years ago, all right, 60 years ago, women, they didn't have many freedoms, okay, 70 years ago, 80 years ago, women didn't have freedoms. They weren't even able to vote, well, women weren't going out and about, especially the Black, Latino, Native American women, okay? They were keepers at home, okay? They did whatever their husband said, and they did not talk over them at all. They were obedient, no arguing, no nothing, and households were structured. The man was the head of the household, okay? The kids grew up with, with structure and standards. And, there wasn't very many rainbow kids, if you know what I'm talking about. Thugs, drug dealers, 70, 80 years ago in the Black, Latino, Native American community, But the so-called white man has given these women, all right, specifically American women, okay, these freedoms and liberties to do whatever the fuck they want, man. You know, and now look, you know, you know that blacks, Latinos, and Native Americans, their households are all destroyed. All right, no man, children, and women, and that's it. Kids grow up being all any and everything, man. End up in prison, you know. you know, rainbow kids, all right, good for nothing, because there's no father in the household, man, you know. And the so-called white man has given these women, freedom to divorce their husband and leave and make money and live off the system. Section 8, all that, WIC, all these programs that benefit the woman but don't benefit a man, it benefits a black woman, a Latino woman, mostly black women, to be single, all right, with no man and multiple kids, But that destroys a household, that destroys minds, that these kids' minds, and they grow up with no structure and whatnot, man, And then the propaganda throughout America pushed upon these women, given to them by the JEWs, the small hats, all right, the Jew people, all right, they give them propaganda and media about what women can do and say and whatever they want, over a man. A man can't tell them nothing, I need a man to have this and that, the nicest car, 6 figures, 6-pack abs, 6 foot, hit the gym, muscles, perfect body, whole bunch of money, could do everything, cook and clean. All right, fix a car, fix a house, fix the pipes, fix her, be able to climb mountains, be able to fly, know this and know everything and do everything and be everything. And if you're not that, she's moving on. And even if you are that, all right, she's gonna go have sex with the drug dealer down the street, and only be with him, be around him just for sex, and then that's it, and not give you none, while you're paying bills, taking care of her and her children and whatnot, America allows that to happen. That would not go on at all in any other country, man. Okay, in Europe, Africa, the Middle East, Asia, Australia, these other islands, that's not allowed. It's frowned upon, It's not incentivized. In America, that's incentivized, for a woman to do that. There's literally programs and incentives for a woman to be like that and to act like that, man, especially the black woman, which is the true Jews, the tribe of Judah, all right? And this is a Northern Kingdom, Issachar, talking about this, all right? But yeah, I was in high school in 2016. I bet this guy's my age, I was in high school in 2016, man, and I remember, I think me transitioning from 8th grade, middle schooler to freshman year, it really hit, because around 2010 to 2012, 2013, it was that hip hop era, the love songs, Airbnb, Airbnb, that chivalry kind of hip hop, kind of era, pop era, it meant, it was cool for a man to be like Bruno Mars, Adele, not Adele, Miguel, and these lovey-dovey dudes, and the women like that, and then bang, 2014 to now, it became rap, and then, just degraded, degradation in the Black, Latino, Native American community, you know, just drill rap, mumble rap, gangster rap, you know, just debauchery, man, debauchery, man, you know. Women were looking for drug dealers, thugs, you know. They didn't want to have a boyfriend, and if they did, they didn't want one, they wanted multiple, or just, they wanted to cheat on him. If they wanted a boyfriend, they wanted him just for a status, And this was in high school, man. And this was fresh off of me, coming off the, that swag fag era in 2012, 2013, man. Head first into high school. And I noticed, like, hey, man, why are these girls acting like that, man? It was hard for me, for the first 2-3 years of high school, because I was like, what the hell, this chivalry stuff ain't working. I thought women were supposed to, I thought they wanted a man to love them and do this and that for them, but nah, they don't like that, They want a man to be cruel, to not even like them. They want a man that has all the women, which that's hypergamous nature in women, and they want, they want a man that's bad, but they also want the most popular dude. Hey, the minds of women, all right, are a little, they're unstable. They're impulsive, they're emotional, all right, irrational, they're hive-minded, all right. They're not moral for the most part. Yeah, women have morals, yeah, but for the most part, when it comes to picking a man, it's not based off morals. Most of the time, I'm talking about American women. I'm not talking about traditional Latino, women. Traditional women. From old classic women. They're more traditional, but American women, they're irrational, man, with their decision on picking men. It's because of this wicked kingdom, man. The so-called white man pushes propaganda through media, YouTube and TikTok and social media and whatnot. And makes it cool and glamorous for a woman to be dealing with multiple men, whoring around, being with a popular or a man with money for the status symbol, And, the minds of women is just, they're all over the place, man. That's why the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai put authority, put the righteous order. All right, it's Yahweh Shai, the man, and then the woman. The woman's supposed to be under the man, okay, under subjection with all authority, under the man, not over the man. Roughly paraphrasing. Okay. The man is supposed to, have expectations out of a woman, because what the scriptures say, let's get it. Sirach 34:24 says, "He that getteth a wife beginneth a possession, a help like unto himself, and a pillar of rest." Okay? For instance, when you get a car, you want to know everything about that car, man. You expect your car to be durable, all right, to, have the tech specs that you want, be able to do this and that. You don't just buy a car just because it's a car, well, I just hope the car doesn't, explode and kill me, or cheat on me and take all my money. A wise man would choose a car, all right, that's reliable, it's durable, and the man knows how to work on it, you know. You know. Slack it, give me a moment. I'll be right back. Slacky, I was saying goodnight to my son. But yeah, man, you know, and that's how a man should be with his woman. All right, according to the Bible, you know, you want to get a wife. All right, that's stable minded, that grew up with her father in her life, you know, that has standards and morals, you know, you know, that is willing to cook and clean and take care of you and be submissive to you, you know. You don't just get a wife because she's got, you know, ass and titties, you know. Because, hey, she could be a whole ass demon, a witch, a literal witch, you know. Witches could have asses and titties. Like, come on, man. All right. So when you get a wife, you get a possession. You begin at the possession, man. That's yours. All right. You know, you could get something that's really bad. Hey, it's yours now. You got to deal with it. You know. So yeah, man. So and yeah, like this guy was saying, you know, the world has changed. Okay. You know, women expect all this from men when it shouldn't be like that. You know, women don't have no say in a relationship. I mean, they do now because the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked. Okay, and the wicked allow women, which that you know they allow the wicked allows women to do these things, man, to have freedoms and liberties when it shouldn't be like that. And that's why you get a messed up country, man. All right, a messed up household. You know. You know. All right. Let's see. What did I want? Oh, it's right here. No, it's not that one. Jeremiah 31:22, it says, "How long wilt thou go about, O backsliding daughter? For the Lord hath created a new thing out of the earth." You hear that? A new thing. A woman shall compass a man. You know? Hey, that's what's going. That's where we're living at right now, man. In a world, in a kingdom, America, where women, you know, have more rights and rules and more rights and authority over men. They're allowed to talk back to their husband. You know, if a man even thinks about putting his hands on his woman, hey, he could end up in prison. You know, here in America. Okay, it's not like that in these countries outside of America, man. Okay, if a woman even thinks about talking back or talking over her husband, she could get unalived or beat. You know, that's just how it is. You know, in these other countries. You know, and that's how it was in the ancient days. It's just America. All right, it's the only country. All right, where that's where it's allowed for women to talk over their man, to do this over their man, you know, falsely accuse their man, just dump their husband, you know, and take his money. And that's why you get these hoes, you know, these whores, man. All right, you know, just getting trying to get impregnated by these famous football players with hella money, with millions of dollars. Famous basketball players with millions of dollars, like Zion Williamson. Hey, he's got the bag, but hey, he fucked up. He already fucked up, man. All right, getting multiple Instagram models or whatever, um, whatever the hell they are, man, pregnant, you know. Shoot, there's a whole bunch of sports athletes, man, that get these women pregnant on accident or on purpose, just being reckless, and these women leave them, and they take 50% of their paycheck, man. Up to, you know, millions of dollars, and the woman didn't do nothing. All she did is lay on her back or get bent over, you know, and that's it. And now she's a millionaire. Ain't that crazy? Ain't that crazy? Come on, man. The Lord has created a new thing out of the earth where a woman could do that, man. A woman shall compass a man. A man has to work his ass off and plus more and beyond to even make it to the NFL, to even make it to the NBA, you know? To even think about getting millions of dollars, you know? But all a woman has to do is be born with ass and titties, and get bent over or put on her back by one of these rich dudes, and bang, she's a millionaire, multi-millionaire, set for life, you know? That's the world we live in, man, you know? And hey, I felt like that, like this dude. I was in this dude's position, man, around that time. Hey, I just want a pretty girl, I just wanted a pretty girl, and then, just wanted to be loyal, and that's it. I wasn't even thinking about if she could cook or clean. I didn't care, this and that. I wasn't even thinking about that. I just wanted a pretty chick on my side, with me, and get old together. I wasn't even thinking about, all that other stuff, requirements and standards and like standards and morals, whatnot. The Wadi Yabashi Al Shai that he's blessed me with my current wife, because she's old fashioned. She grew up with her father, and her mother together, and they grew up old fashioned, all right. And she grew up with standards and morals, she lives by those standards and morals to this day, that's why we're together, man. And she's submissive and then whatnot, she goes off here and there, and even me as a man, I go off here and there, but hey, and we're human, all right. Hey, she's a woman in America, man. All right. I expect her to go off here and there sometimes, man, because hey, you really can't blame these women that much, hey, we can, but hey, I can't even blame them all the way, because hey, imagine you put yourself in these women's shoes. All right, every day they wake up, all they see on social media and even around them is the wickedness and the perverseness of America in their face every day. Oh, this is how a woman should be. A woman should do this. A woman should require this out of a man, that out of a man, etc., to beyond the moon and the stars and and beyond, man. Okay. So of course, and she sees these other women all around her being like that, and a woman themselves, they're more hive mind than a man themselves, So I can't blame women, all the way, but hey, still, this system is geared to suppress and oppress the Black, Latino, and Native American man, which are Israelites, 1 Corinthians 11:9, neither was a man created for the woman, but the woman for the man. So the Lord, Yahweh Shem Shai, created the woman for the man, not the man for the woman. Okay? So it should be the man that expects all these requirements, out of a woman. Because, hey, that woman is the man's possession, all right? We're not the woman's possession, according to the Bible. But here in America, here in effing Babylon the Great, here in America, hey, these women, That's what America pushes, that the man is the woman's possession. No, you know, it's not. It shouldn't be like that according to the Bible. You know, Sirach or Ecclesiasticus 25:24, of the woman came the beginning of sin. You hear that? Of the woman came the beginning of sin. All right, Eve is the one that was beguiled by Satan. All right, because she's the lesser vessel, the weaker vessel. So of course, that's why I said, hey, I can't even blame these women all the way, because they're the weaker vessel anyway. You know, they're more enticed and easily given into, stuff. Of the woman came the beginning of sin, and through her we all die. So don't let these women have authority over you, man. Just, hey, go find another woman, or just get with the girl just for just for concubine purposes, temporary needs. All right, if you know what I mean. Okay, and move on, because if she doesn't fit your standards on what you want in a woman, you don't have to be with her. Okay. Yes, it's hard for a man to even get some here in America, but that's why you work on yourself, Akim. And you'll eventually get women, to give you a try, give you a chance, because hey, the scriptures say wisdom maketh a man's face to shine, man. All right, the Lord's gonna beautify us, and He's beautifying us even in our captivity, man. So hey, work on yourself. Hit the gym. Be more social. But hey, women is not our priority anyway. And we're going to get all the women we want in the kingdom anyway, man. Okay? So, hey, on this side, our women are going to be wicked. In the side, in the kingdom of heaven, our women are going to be righteous and perfect. The Lord's just showing you the results of not doing what the Lord commands you to do. And this is the result. He's going to put the woman over you. And we're feeling the pain, and the punishment of us sinning and committing iniquity against Yahweh Shem Yahushai. And this is part of it. The Lord is going to put our own women over us and punish us, even with our women. Okay? But just knowing the kingdom of heaven, a world ruled in righteousness, it's not going to be like this. Okay? That's the beautiful thing out of this, man. We got a kingdom waiting for us. We seek for a new heavens and a new earth where dwelleth what? Righteousness. Sirach 25:25, the next verse. Give the water no passage, neither a wicked woman liberty, all right, freedom, to gad abroad. Letting your woman do whatever she wants. Go out and about, have a girls' night out, while you sit at home and take care of the baby and clean the whole house and this and that, while she's out, at the club with the girls, getting flirted on and hit on by these dudes, and then, they go to the car and she gets banged by some 6'5" football player, and she gets back home, and then she's like, hey, honey, I missed you so much. Oh my God, I had so much fun, this and that, oh my God. And she goes straight to sleep. And then the next morning, she doesn't even remember what happened because she was too damn drunk, That's the world we live in, man. If you see or know that a woman's gonna be like that, you don't marry her. You don't make her your wife. You use her, for the temporary purposes. I don't even want to say use, all right? You be with her, all right, for the temporary purposes. And if she doesn't like that or want that, then, hey, move on to the next woman, man. There's not just one woman on earth. There's thousands, millions, billions of women on earth, man. Okay? You'll find some. But that's not even the purpose of being in this truth, man. That's not our priority, okay? We prioritize Yahweh Shem Shai. All right, we seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and then all these things, all right, shall be added unto thee, all right? And one of those things is women, okay? Because the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai created the woman for us, not the other way around. Shalom.